I'm going to trace out a diagram for a plasma cut. I'm going to make 4 cuts of a tree profile. This is the paper diagram I'm going to digitize. I'm using Logic Trace 2018 and I've selected tracing polylines. I'm going to trace out each portion of the diagram and close it up. Sometimes I use a red marker to mark where I started and also which part I've traced. I'll be cutting out 4 of these panels about 24 inches by 48 inches high. Each panel I'm going to use cedar, 2-inch thick cedar, to frame each panel. And when this is completed, the panels will be supported by 6x6 cedar posts. The whole privacy barrier is about 122 inches long and stands about 7 foot high. The easy or the good part here is that I only have to trace out one panel, because what I'm going to do is reverse the panels, use like a mirror image to get a different look. So 2 of the panels will be mated up on the left side and 2 of the panels will be mated up on the right side. The trick here is to keep track of what you've traced and to keep track of where you started. Where you start and stop is important because when the program closes up that vector drawing, if you've run over where you've started, it'll have a crossed vector which you'll have to edit out later. I always point out the more care you take in doing your digitizing or tracing, the less work at the end where you have to edit out all the mistakes. It doesn't take long to trace out a large diagram like this. It just takes a bit of patience because you got a lot of small parts to trace out and keep track of. I'm getting close here to completing all of the tracing, and when I've finished, I'm going to load that file into Vectric Aspire 10.5, make sure the vectors are good, and then I'll take and make 4 of those panels and reverse them so that the 2 panels will match up on the left and the 2 panels will match up on the right. Here I'll check the vector quality. Shown here, I'm going to group 4 panels together. Now I will orientate the panels so that they match up on a profile. I usually save 2 formats for plasma cutting, DXF format and PLT. So I use CorelDRAW to create the PLT file for a plasma cut. Plasma seems to like PLT better than DXF. Now we're going to load that file into the plasma cutter. Here we'll program all the lead-ins. Steel is on the table and we're set to go. Plasma cutting always impresses me. Steel is very difficult to work with, and that plasma cutter cuts that thing just like butter. It's actually smoother than the CNC router. We'll be cutting 4 of these panels separately. Each panel was 24 by 48 inches. Just a quick note here, there was very little cleanup to take the slag off the back of the panels. The idea here was to create a privacy barrier using 4 pieces of steel and 3 cedar posts. Next you'll see here where I take cedar and I combine cedar with the steel panels. And there's a groove in each one of those cedar pieces and the steel panels fit right up inside. You can see here I've removed the clamps, I've given the cedar a bit of a light stain, and we're ready to install this as the privacy barrier in the spring.